Hello and welcome everyone to my cooking experiment. Unfortunately, I did not think of starting this video when I started, so I started partway through. But I'll walk you through the steps that I have here, and I'll link my recipe in the description below so you guys can go and check it out if you want. So right here, I'm rinsing the dolma leaves, or the grape leaves for the dolmas. You want to rinse them really well and separate them and leave them to sit. In the meantime, while I was letting those drip dry a little bit, I went ahead and I got my pot out. I used a fairly big pot and got some extra virgin olive oil. That's my favorite type to use. And use my hands to just rub the oil around a little bit. So then I wanted to put a thin layer of extra grape leaves at the bottom. So this is to keep the dolmas from sticking when you put them in. I went through my grape leaves and I picked out the ones that weren't so good looking, so they wouldn't have made the nicest dolmas anyways, and I put those down at the bottom. I'm using canned grape leaves. You can use fresh ones. The next step is to take some tomatoes. I want to rinse them really well. Then you take them and you cut them into rounds. And then you lay those on top of the grape leaves. I then proceeded to take my rice, which I had soaked for 20 minutes. I put dried dill. I didn't have fresh dill and parsley, so I used dried dill and parsley and used that to stuff them. And then I put them all into my 2 pots. I doubled the recipe. And then you want to boil water, which I could have done earlier, but anyways. So 4 cups of water for each pot. So 4 cups of water for each 1.5 cups of rice and herbs and things that you put in, and also stir-fried onion is inside with the rice. The original recipe asked for beef, but I'm vegetarian, so I put in just the onion. In the meantime, I needed to clean up my mess. And then I went ahead and cut my lemon, so it requires 2 lemons for each recipe, and I doubled it, so I did 4, and I also had half a lemon in the fridge, which I used up, so I used 2.5 lemons. So my water has come to a boil, so that's great. I'm ready to get to the next step, which is to pour my hot water over the dolmas. So it's 4 cups for each recipe. And now the next step is you want to go ahead and get a couple medium-sized plates and use that to weight down your dolmas in your pots. So you put a plate on each one to hold them down. You set I set my timer for 35 minutes. And then it's just a matter of waiting. So my timer's done now, and you can take your lids off and go ahead and, I use tongs. You can get tongs out and take the plates off the dolmas. And then take my lemon juice. You could have measured with this, but I just eyeballed it. I put approximately half of my lemon juice on each pot. So now you can go ahead and turn your stove on to low and set my timer for 40 minutes. And I think that's something I'll do differently in the future. Well, I can count my blessings. At least it was only 1 pot. I should turn that alarm off. Well, it could have been worse. I think they'll still be edible. They just are fairly mangled. Well, I'll put the lid on them and let them settle in the pan. Hopefully that saved them from the smoky taste. And this pot looks perfect. At least perfect in my opinion. This is my first time though, so my definition of perfect is probably not quite the same as someone who's been doing it their whole life. To see how they taste. The moment of truth. And praise the Lord, they were delicious. We'll have to see what my family thinks of them when they get home.